What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and I'm back for my NPL Tryout Tournament battle number 4 in my pool when we are going up against excellent name and his team being the Aussie Kangaskhans. If you haven't seen my last battle when I had a very cool game versus Shiny Sableye 70, make sure to check it out. The link for that video should be down below in the description. And the question of the day will be, what is your favorite hazard setter to use in draft league format and why? And the reason for coming up as the question of the day is based on how many hazard setters both of us actually have combined between our rosters, arguably him having better hazard setters. But let's go through actually what my opponent has drafted for this tournament and what kind of team he has been able to go 2-1 and +7 so far going into this game before facing us. So excellent name has drafted himself Landersteria, which is one of his sea captains, Ladios, Toxapex, Charizard Y, Klefki, Breloom, Sneasel, Rodon, which is his second and final sea captain, Lysanroc, Dusk, Kecleon and Ariados. So that is his full draft. And for my draft itself, as a reminder, my sea captains were Tapu Koko and Incineroar respectively. So going to this matchup, I'm going up against arguably the best coach in my pool, in other people's eyes, at least majority of them, considering the fact that my opponent, excellent name, did have a very cool honor to be honorably mentioned in the top 30 draft league format players in Generation 7, according to token minorities in their most recent video. So if you haven't seen it, you are probably familiar with his name from that video. So he's a very good player for sure. I have seen him battling before and I have heard about him. So definitely shoutouts to him and congratulations on a honorably mentioned like that in a video, and consider that how well respected the people are who are making that list. So I definitely do have my own I have something to prove, I guess, in a sense that in my pool that I believe I can beat every single one of these people. It's another thing that I will beat every single one of them, including excellent name, but I feel like I can definitely beat him and showcase to others that I can definitely be considered the best player in my pool, and hopefully in this tournament as well, if everything goes right for me and I'm able to play to that standard. Hopefully everything goes right. But either way, about this matchup itself, we are dealing with quite a few threats that I have to really emphasize on, which are Landersteria with the sea captaincy. It's always a massive threat no matter who you're going up against when you have to deal with that. It's a big threat versus any kind of team. Latios is a big threat versus my own team potentially. Charizard Y is a huge nuisance with having access to Earthquake, Focus Blast and having strong Fire Stab under the sun. I feel like with those 3 attacking moves, or those kind of coverage, he basically covers my entire team and what I would expect him to run, besides maybe having Roost on it as the last move. And the last move what I'm really afraid of would be Lysanroc Dusk, because it does have Tough Claws as ability and access to Fire Fang. So my rock resist, as we saw from last video, being Ferrothorn, is kinda hard to deal with that thing, considering the fact what he has available, besides that Lysanroc itself. And Lysanroc having access to Fire Fan makes it really hard for me to potentially deal with it. So it's a very tough matchup, but I feel like I can definitely beat this one, and I do have Mons which can match up well versus him too, and which I can take advantage of myself. An excellent name has a reputation of, I guess, being a very straightforward player, in a sense that he values hazard stacking, he values being an offensive player himself, not necessarily the most creative player out there with his team building, but it's not like he's gonna always slap on standard set. But for the most part, he goes with a very efficient team building style and being a very aggressive player of his own right. So that's kind of how he usually finds his success, and that definitely shows on his draft style as well, what he has drafted. But either way, let's go through that what I'm gonna be bringing here. And starting up, we are gonna be having Tapu Koko, and Tapu Koko is here purely because of the fact that it is by far the biggest threat for my roster versus his team. And I did have a lot of options what I could have done with it coming to its set, but I feel like this is probably the most efficient way to go about it, and probably the one which he is not expecting the most out of being with a substitute set. And we have enough speed to outspeed Sneasel, I'm not gonna go fancy with it and try to look for his speed creep. I feel like it's better for me to just speed creep the standard set with Jolly Nature and max speed. Then we have enough not special attack, we have enough HP to avoid Toxapex breaking our substitute with a Scald as long as it's not too much invested on it. So that's gonna be really the benchmark what I really wanted to go about it. And then we have a dual stab with Ferium Z and a Roost as a recovery move. I feel like because how much Tapu Koko will for switches, having substitute on it not only gives me that security behind the substitute from incoming attack on the following turn, whatever he throws at me, it also takes away to pressure me to always get the right prediction. So that's kind of the idea behind it. And I did not also put the Hidden Power Eyes just as to get it out of the way, why you might wonder why I'm not running it when I'm facing a Landorus Therian. To me, either Yachi Berry or Choice Scarf makes the most sense versus me. So I figured because of that, I feel like I can do enough damage to him already with Dazzling Gleam, and he doesn't have any ways to get it back healthy itself. And for the most part, I feel like with Dazzling Gleam plus with my Zemo potential, I have a really good chance of two-shotting it after prior damage with Stealth Rocks or something like that. So I didn't feel like I really need it, and with this set, I feel like it's more efficient versus him to go about it and not sacrifice something what I have for the Hidden Power Eyes itself. I did also consider Calm Mind to try to set up and sweep with it, but yet again, because the Choice Scarf set can be very valuable option for him to bring, there's no way I'm able to sweep him as long as he has the Choice Scarf intact. And also besides that, he has a potentially a lot of priority options as well, which makes it hard for Tapu Koko even pull off that sweep. So I feel like this is the perfect set I could have come up with in my opinion versus him. And the next mode what we are gonna be bringing is going to be Gliscor, and Gliscor is gonna be providing us more so a check to his physical threats, but with also some special defense investment, and mainly it's there to deal with the Landorus Therian. That's the primary goal, to deal with that thing, but also dealing with the Lysanroc Dusk as well, because it's probably the best option I have to deal with both of them. And hopefully Gliscor will be able to do it well enough for me that I can go from there and let it do its job as best as it can. Then we are running Earthquake, Ice Fang, Rock Tomb and Protect as our moves. The Rock Tomb is there to hit the Charizard Y, which is probably pretty obvious. Ice Fang to hit the Landorus, yet again quite obvious. And Earthquake for the stab. Protect is there to burn the potential seam of coming into our way from the Landorus Therian, while also giving us the extra turn to recover safely, and also getting the ability activated to go along with it. And this BDEV investment is there to make sure a Jolly Landorus Therian with Hidden Power Eyes doesn't two-shot us unless it's boosting item like XP Belt or whatever it's gonna be, or if he's running like a nature that doesn't lower its special attack itself like Naive or whatever. But if he does that, it's more prone to other type of attacks either from physical or special side. So I felt like it's proper benchmark for me. This also does mean that we can potentially live Flamethrower from Timid Charizard Y after Stealth Rocks if that ever comes necessary for me to do. But those are kind of the thoughts on the Gliscor set, what it's there for. And the next one what we are gonna be bringing is gonna be Tentacruel. And Tentacruel is going to be something that I don't expect it to do too much work, but it's very essential for me to bring either way. And the reason behind is that he has a lot of hazard setters, and I didn't want to fill in defog on my potential defoggers on my team, as you've been able to tell so far. So I figured that Tentacruel should be able to provide me that. It provides me also immunity to Toxic Spikes and get rid of them if he tries to get them out with Toxapex, if he would be bringing it. And it also provides me decent check or a pivot around his defensive moves. And also with the bulk what we have, we are able to avoid being two-shotted by Earthquake from Charizard Y after Stealth Rocks. It's a benchmark that I felt most comfortable with, but it might not even help too much if the sun is still up. which is gonna be around 4 or 5 turns when it's able to settle it. So it's not like I'm able to do too much back to it, but I figured it's good enough for me. It does help me to take some other physical hits as well, if necessary, bar if a mainlander is there, which is gonna pop me either way what I'm gonna do, or what kind of investment I would even run on this. Then we are running dual stab. I did go with acid spray just to cripple things if necessary, with getting -2 SPDF drop on them, which get affected by it. Then we have rapid spin obvious reasons, and Konokov is there to make sure that I'm able to get rid of items what is going to be coming in. And mainly the target is Gladios, because I feel like Gladios is a very good offensive switching to Tentacruel, because normally I cannot really do too much to it, and it being it really caring about it. So me able to just get rid of its item and intensify what it's going to be, and make it a little bit less threatening if it loses its item for me to deal with, I figure would be the proper last move to put on it. I didn't feel like I need anything else, and that's gonna give me the most value what I could have from my last move. Then the next move what we are gonna be bringing is gonna be Yuxi, and Yuxi is gonna be providing me a SPDF wall with a lot of utility options, which I feel like I need to bring versus him. Stealth rocks first and foremost. It's gonna be my main stealth rocker for this game. Then we have Thunder Wave just for speed control, to cripple things like Gladios and Charizard Y, for example, if I'm able to. Even something like Sneasel can be very useful for me to paralyze or Lysanroc Dusk if I get to turn to do that. U-turn for momentum, mainly get ourselves out of there and do a little bit of chip and be able to break a substitute from Gladios, so we are not the setup fodder for that. And then we have also Reflect, mainly there to provide me a couple of turns of security from it, even though we are not running Light Ray with it. It's same idea as before on Yuxi or on the Tentacruel. When I'm kind of trying to figure out the last move, I'm trying to figure out what I'm getting the most out of. That's probably the move what I should go with. And considering his team, how many priority options he has on a physical side, and so many physical threats barring Gladios and Charizard Y, and considering how offensive player he is, I feel like Reflect, with those turns I even get, they can be still very beneficial for me to deal with. And considering that it can lure some things in that can be physical attackers, like maybe Sneasel can coming on an aggressive turn, getting the Reflect up before he does can be helpful for me in the long run. So that's the kind of the idea there. Not anything special with the spread this time around. We're going very standard, and I didn't feel like I need to go more fancy with it. Then we are having Heracross as our next member. Heracross is here just to provide us a wall breaker. Even though we are going up against a very offensive player, I do feel like there's a decent chance he's gonna bring some sort of defensive backbone to rely on, and at least help on him to get up hazards up, like Klefki and Toxapex can help him with that. Bulky Kecleon, even though I'm not sure if it's going to come. If it's going to come, it can be a little bit of annoying for me to break through depending on what set it is if I don't have Heracross. And overall, when you look at his team, if I'm able to bring this in on a proper turns and be able to do proper predictions where I'm able to do that, it can wall break quite well and demand a lot of kills or do a lot of damage to him. And we are running basically only one stab with close combat because I don't feel like I need Megahorn. Then Facade, Knockoff and Earthquake basically covers everything else that I'm not clicking close combat versus. And we have a lot of attack investment with Adamant Nature, basically max attack. And then we have max able to outspeed a max speed Adamant Prelume. I don't think he's gonna go jolly with it. If it's going to come, I'm not sure if it's even going to come considering the team what I have. But off the chance it does, I do outspeed it. And then we have the 9 ending number on HP and then rest on the first step what I had still left to invest on. So that is the Heracross, just providing the wall breaking options for me so we don't get walled by his defensive mons. And then the last member of the team will be Incineroar. And Incineroar is here to kind of take the pressure out of Tentacruel and taking a pressure of Yuxi to deal with the Charizard Y and the Latios respectively. This thing hopefully provides me another check to them, either a primary check to them, depends on how I want to play it, or a secondary check. And be a very strong pivot considering that how annoying it can be for him to switching on it, considering the fact that I can also gain momentum with it with U-turn. Then we have Thunder Punch, and the 4 IVs on attack actually makes the difference that hopefully on a standard Charizard Y set we do 2-shot it. We have also enough speed to make sure that we outspeed Charizard Y after it's being paralyzed, hopefully by the Uxie if that ever comes into play. Then rest on the bulk, and basically I just made sure also that with the Assault Vest and without bulk we are not 2-shotted by Focus Blast from a timid Charizard Y, barring us having any prior damage before it, or Stealth Rocks being up, for example, any kind of other hazards which I would be taking damage from. So that is gonna be the team, and I will be coming back with just in a couple of seconds for you, so give me just those few seconds and I will be setting up everything for the replay. Seeing that excellent name has decided to bring Latios, Landorus, Therian, Lysanroc, Dusk, Charizard Y, Kecleon and Klefki, so not too many surprises barring maybe the Kecleon, that could have been maybe something else, but this could be potentially one of his ways to deal with Tapu Koko and Mega Pidgeot, to keeping that in mind. So that's kind of what I could have expected to be, either Assault Vest or just very bulky set without the Assault Vest itself. And Landorus Therian, I did mention on the team builder part that I do expect it to be Yachi or Choice Scarf, but there's always a small chance it can also be physically defensive, I guess, to help out with his Klefki and Kecleon to give himself a third member on the defensive core and pivot around versus a potential Guts Heracross, but it can definitely still be the offensive set itself, and this is gonna be like a team style of his side of the field, where he could have like four very offensive modes, and then he has only a couple of support modes in Kecleon and Klefki. It can go either way, but we have to wait and see as the game goes on that what does he actually reveal to have on them and what kind of sets they are running. But going into this game, I decided to lead with my Gliscor because I do want to go for the protect immediately, and I can see him potentially leading up with Landorus Therian either for gaining momentum or getting up his Stealth Rocks if that happens to be his Stealth Rock setter. So I wanted to make sure I have them on in front of it that I do want to utilize versus it for throughout this game. So that is the mindset going into this matchup, and we are gonna be seeing that he does actually lead up with his Kecleon. So this is a matchup where I thought, okay, I need to scout if this thing has access, if it's carrying Ice Punch, because with Protein ability, as we know about Kecleon, it can actually hit surprisingly hard. And as I go for the protect to scout that and make sure that I get my ability activated without losing my item, he does reveal going for the knockoff, trying to get rid of it before I would go for this, I guess, which I can see why he was doing that. And after this I decided to go into Incineroar, getting the Intimidate off and kind of try to figure out what kind of Kecleon set this is. If it's Assault Vest, hopefully it cannot touch me unless it's running fighting coverage, but he actually makes a double into Latios, I guess predicting a Earthquake coming out of the Gliscor itself and revealing therefore that he doesn't have the Ice Punch. But either way, it worked out for me when I went to Incineroar, because I knew that he's not gonna stay in and I'm gonna gain momentum with U-turn, and he went actually to his Klefki, and this gave me a free Heracross to coming on and get my ability activated. And here I was like, okay, I feel like either he's gonna stay in or he's gonna swap out. Either way, I'm gonna click close combat because it's gonna hit everything very hard. I don't care about his resist. They are not gonna enjoy taking that hit either way, but thankfully for me, it actually decides to sack it. He does get his spikes up before going down, but even that crit, it should not really matter. It was basically guaranteed kill for me with a Guts Flame Orb boosted close combat for my Adamant Heracross. And now he actually goes into his Lysanroc after that went down, and he makes a very solid play going for the Sword Dance, expecting me to save my Heracross or him potentially have the Focus Sash still intact. And I went to my Gliscor. I knew I can take any one hit. It's not his C-move users, and it doesn't have access to Ice Fang, and he does reveal have the Focus Sash. So here I could have gone for the protect, but because I feel like I already revealed it, I don't want to give him a potential second turn of getting Sword Dance if he predicts that. And now you already saw that he actually missed his Stone Edge, which is a very huge from his point of view. It definitely influenced him. I feel like it's gonna like influence him mentally when you're gonna miss such a crucial hit. I'm gonna be coming back on this, how I feel like this mattered in a long run in the game or not, but it does obviously matter in a sense that instead of my Gliscor beating this thing 1v1 instead of dying, he should have been, if he was able to land that Stone Edge, he should have been in a position that this Gliscor should be dead by now, and then potentially something else has to take a hit from this +2 Lysa Rock, either from Axel Rock or from Stone Edge, whatever I would decide to go into. I will say this, that I already thought before this is gonna happen that either he hits or not. I did dedicate myself going to the Yuxi, and I would have clicked the U-turn to finish this thing on off from there, and I decided to do that because I didn't want Tapu Koko to take that big of a hit from a Axel Rock from the Lysa Rock itself. So if that would have landed, that would have been what I have done, and therefore if he would have been able to land it, it would have obviously left me a lot more vulnerable considering the amount of health what I have instead of what I'm going to be at, because he has actually lost already 2 mons and I still have all of my 6 mons intact after this Lysa Rock will go down to the earthquake. So I'm getting fortunate in that regard, and I do apologize. I did apologize him about this, but that's really a fortunate thing about when you have to rely on inaccurate moves, that most of the time you do expect them to land when it's 80% accurate out of 100, but there will be crucial and very devastating scenarios potentially when you have to run it that it can miss, and it was very devastating on his behalf at that point because it meant that he didn't get enough out of it what he should have. But either way, he went into his Charizard Y and reveals to have Solar Beam as I go for the Protect just to scout what he has and gain the extra recovery with the Poison Heal. And to me, Solar Beam seemed very odd decision for him to run on it. I don't understand why he runs it over Earthquake, because if he runs Solar Beam to hit Tentacruel, Earthquake would do more to me either way, and Grass is not the greatest coverage to run versus me if you have to run it either way. It's not hitting anything super effectively, so I found it very odd, but either way I went to the Tentacruel, and instead of using actually Incineroar here just yet, I did prioritize to get those spikes off the field, cause I didn't feel like I need Tentacruel for anything else, barring to get rid of those and potentially pivot around with the Kecleon, cause when you look at the rest of the team, I basically lose to most of the things 1v1 with it. So after I was able to accomplish that, that's where I decided, alright, I'm gonna go into the Incineroar. It seems to me that he doesn't have the Earthquake, so this thing is gonna just take any one hit easily, and there's no way he's gonna click Focus Blast here. And here I'm gonna actually make probably one of my first plays, which in hindsight I could have made the better throughout this game. I did go for the save Darkest Lariat to hit everything as hard as possible what he has left, but ideally I should have gone for the U-turn and kept the momentum, because now because he went to his Lander Stadium, I'm gonna lose my own momentum. So here I have to make like a middle ground play, even though I go to Yuxi and I have to potentially take a super effective hit from a potential Choice Scarf U-turn, which to me it feels like if Landry Stegen is running U-turn, to me it's really seemed to me that that is gonna be his Choice Scarfer based on the damage as well. So I didn't go into Gliscor mainly because it was so low on health that I felt like he's gonna easily be able to finish it off with Latios or Charizard Y, whereas Yuxi is not easy for him to finish off. And he went to his Charizard Y first, and I decided that okay, he's probably trying to attack me when he brought it in like that. So I went for the Thunder Wave, but he decides to scout for it either way, and kudos to him, cause now he was able to scout for the Thunder Wave and he's able to efficiently cripple me down with those U-turns, which is a good play from his behalf. But I'm okay by this, cause now I'm able to get up my Stealth Rocks, and unless he's running Defog on one of his 3 remaining mons out of the 4 which can have access to it, those Stealth Rocks are there up to stay, and that's gonna help me with dealing with that Charizard Y, cause now he's not able to come in for free anymore as he was able to do prior. And now he's gonna be able to get up his own Stealth Rocks when he brought the Kecleon in, but I got my Reflect up, cause this should be helping out me quite a lot to deal, not only with this thing, but also deal with the Landorstarian if I needed to take any potential one hit from it a lot better. And here I'm gonna go for the U-turn as the Kecleon is staying in, and I decide to go into my Heracross because I'm expecting him to click the knockoff versus my Yuxi. And I don't see him running anything to really hit my Heracross too hard. If he had Fire Punch and gone from there, that would have been a crazy good prediction from his behalf considering the sun was up. But thankfully he doesn't at least have it or didn't go for it. And I was able to bring my Heracross in. And now I get basically a free facade because I don't see any way for him to stay in. Considering that he might not be able to touch me too hard. And with Facade I'm basically doing a lot of damage to anything which has to take that hit at this point of time. And he goes to his Landorstarian, and here is probably the play that I regret the most by staying in here. I was thinking that behind the Reflect I can live any one hit, but the explosion completely went across my mind to be the option, and it should not have come across on my mind and not considering it on a Choice Scarf Landorstarian. It can always definitely be an option. I should know better. So that's gonna be a play where I kind of kick myself that why I did not take that opportunity to just sack Tentacruel or Yuxi at that point in time, because Heracross would have been able to deal with this thing a lot easier and take advantage of it. And now because of that I went into my Incineroar first because it was able to deal with all of the 3 remaining mons, the best from out of my team, as he went to his Kecleon as well. And with the Rock Tomb he is able to do decent damage, but with the Intimidate and Reflect being up, it's not going to do as much to my Incineroar, and I'm able to still keep it around that I still have 2 switching into Stealth Rocks if necessarily, or if I'm able to get rid of them with my Tentacruel. My Incineroar is still a reasonable amount of health. And here I'm basically trying to figure out what was his last move, and he decided to reveal the Recover finally as the last move. So now I know his full set being Knockoff, Stealth Rocks, Rock Tomb and Recover. So this means that Gliscor is completely able to wall it. So I'm able to now find a turn that I'm gonna bring it in when I was expecting him to go for the Recover, and basically just making it completely safe play for my behalf to bring it in. And here I decide that I'm gonna go for the Rock Tomb because of the chance it goes to Charizard Y, I cover that and kill it. If he goes into Latios, at least I hit it. I can scout for the damage if there's anything to scout for, and I find something different out of ordinary from a Latios set, and I get the speed drop as well, which could potentially come into play if it's a Choice Scarf or not. And here I go for the Protect, just again gaining information and gaining recovery. And he does reveal to have Ice Beam, so off the chance he is a Choice Scout set, I do decide to sack a Mon here and see that what he's gonna do. If he's locked into Ice Beam, that's gonna be great for me. I decide to sack Yuxi because if I see him keep clicking Ice Beam, that makes me think that it's Choice Scarf, and that could have given me a turn in go into Tentacruel and get the Rapid Spin off if necessary. So that was the thought there, sacking Yuxi first. But because he did go for the Draco Meteor afterwards, expecting me to not to stay in, that revealed to me that it's not Choice Scarf, which is perfectly fine for me because now I'm able to go into my Tapu Koko and be able to get the substitute up. And here is the kind of the scenario where I wished I had the Heracross, because I could have sped up the progress potentially a lot better if I had it around and be able to bring it in at some point versus this Kecleon and be able to always claim a kill or kill it outright. But because I don't have it around because of my own mistake, now I have to just bank on that I will be able to beat this thing 1v1. And I know for a fact that I should be able to do that with this thing and Gliscor, even if he has reliable recovery. I have my own reliable recovery of my own, and because of my bulk on HP, he cannot actually break my substitute with Rock Tomb, which is his hardest hitting move. And now he doesn't know yet what is my final move, so he might be afraid of some sort of setup move. So either way, this is gonna be great for me that depending on what his mindset was throughout this progress, he didn't go for the Recover, which means that I'm able to pick this one off after the Sea Dazzling Gleam and after 2 Thunderbolts. And that should basically mean that unless that Latios is funky ass set with Rosary Berry and is able to tank a hit, from my Dazzling Gleam and Okomi back with an Earthquake. This should be a good game from here. And we do see that he is not Rosary Berry, which means that we are able to clean this game up without Tapu Koko. And Gladius goes down to the Dazzling Gleam, and Charizard Y is definitely gonna go down to the Thunderbolt even without the terrain, cause it's going to have to take the Stealth Rocks damage while coming in. So good game 2, excellent name. We get ourselves a 4-0 win and put ourselves to 4-0 and plus 19. And coming back to the miss, what happened with the Stone Edge, I did mention how it kind of influenced it mattered on his side, but now when you saw the actual game turning out, I feel like the only thing what it mattered was that my Yuxi should have been lower health and I did not have my Gliscor around. But I do feel confident enough to say that I still feel like I should have won this game. Considering what I had left and considering what he had himself left from there. But it did kind of cost a lot of differential potentially and make this a lot closer game, differential wise. And I guess depending on what would have happened in a few turns or what kind of plays I would have done and what kind of plays he could have been able to still do, maybe there was a chance for him to win. But I still feel like confidently enough that I should have been able to win this game in the end if he landed his Stone Edge. But I feel like it could have easily been like even a 1-0 or 2-0 game instead of now being a 4-0 game. But either way, good game to excellent name. Yet again, congratulations for making the top 30 in the Token Minorities top 30 list, or as a honorable mention into that list. And hopefully he's gonna have better luck with his last game and we can see that he can make to the next round, cause this is definitely gonna hurt him. But on a plus side, from my point of view, this basically means that I have secured my spot for the next round. And I will say this, even though I should be having one more game in my pool, like every single coach should have 5 games to play, it's gonna be unfortunate that the last game what I would have had versus Frost won't be happening, and this is gonna be my final game and going into the brackets itself. So my record will stand as 4-0 and plus 19 going to my getting out of my pool. And the reason behind is that basically saving you from the detail what everything what went down. Basically we weren't able to schedule our game with Frost, both of us being blamed. Some of us, like for me, I can take the blame for not being able to battle on the first week when the battle was going to happen, were allowed to be done, and he actually was willing to battle already on the first week. But my own defense, I wasn't able to meet that time with him already on the first week because I had my own father who had a back injury and he still is recovering from it, and that time it was just recently happened, so I really need to focus on helping him out. So that took a lot of time besides my own school from my own free time, and also took a lot of juice out of me to try to help him out as best as I can. So I wasn't able to meet his time when he tried to get every single battle done in his pool on the first week. But afterwards that happened, I did already, starting after the first week, I did start to put the effort to get the team done, and I had managed to get the team done after the first week relatively quickly. And I did start to try to contact him relatively often, try to schedule with him and find a time to battle with him, but he was very busy after the first week. He is a Australian, like our excellent name was, so it's a very hard time zone difference for both of us to be able to schedule that game. And in the end, even though we scheduled like 3 or 4 times settling a time, and I basically was pushing him to schedule time with him, he wasn't able to always meet the time afterwards. So it was kind of like from both ends. I guess you could find one of us to blame, but I didn't feel like I deserved a forfeit. He felt from his perspective he didn't deserve a forfeit. So in the end, neither of us, I guess, for whatever reason, did not end up having a forfeit. So the game never just happened and no result came out of it. So This is gonna be the final pool game you're gonna see from my point of view, but since I did make to the next round, the next game you're gonna be seeing is gonna be my top 16 bracket game versus Bash and his team being the New York Muse, if I remember right. And I will be uploading that in a couple of days, hopefully, for you guys. Hopefully on the upcoming week it's going to be up by then. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, I'm gonna be see you guys later.